Hello everybody and welcome back to the channel. In today's video, we're going to be discussing some new and upcoming Transformers Studio Series figures. Yes, just when the line is at an all-time low in regards to hype, we get a shed ton of leaks, which honestly will pretty much see us through the final quarter of this year, and then of course very early next year. Now before we get into the video, it is worth noting that at the time of this recording, I merely just have UPC codes, and for those of you unaware of what a UPC code is, essentially it's a serial number that is used by certain retail stores in order to identify stock levels, what stock they have coming in, and 9 times out of 10, pretty much 10 times out of 10, these leak listings always turn out to be 100% correct. So I'm almost certain that the figures I shall be discussing in today's video, we shall definitely see at least towards the end of this year, if not very early 2022. And I also did a video very recently in regards to what comes after Kingdom, and I did actually state that maybe the Studio Series was taking the back burner for this year in order to make a very big comeback next year, and taking into account these listings, that definitely does appear to be the case. And it also appears to be the case that Hasbro just cannot live without giving us G1 characters, as this is a mix of live action movie characters but also G1 86 characters. But the live action movie characters that are being released are all to do with the Bumblebee movie, which all had very G1 heavy influenced designs. But I'm not against that at all. I thought the designs in that movie were awesome. So without further ado, let's get straight into it. So for the deluxe class assortment, the first figure we can expect is a Studio Series TF6 Bumblebee movie, Brawn. Brawn was a character that I did actually just discuss in that previous video, and I'm super glad to see him get an SS figure. Now of course, we never actually saw half of these Cybertronian characters transform in the movie. I believe we actually didn't even see any of them. We merely just saw Optimus Prime towards the end of the film in his truck mode. So already these figures are incredibly exciting, as they are obviously all going to have concept alt modes, and I'm really intrigued to see as to whether or not Hasbro decide to give us very G1 accurate looking alt modes, or whether or not they decide to give us full on Cybertronian, very stylistic looking futuristic vehicles, much like we saw from B127. So Brawn is the first character. Then we get a TF6 Ratchet. Now of course we did see Ratchet in that opening scene on Cybertron, and much like Brawn, very excited to see this character. Honestly, I'm quite surprised that we haven't as of yet really gotten that many Cybertronian B characters, and then this wave comes out and pretty much gives us almost all of those characters in one lump sum. But definitely really interesting to see the upcoming TF6 Ratchet. Then we move into some Studio Series 86 figures, so we will be seeing Perceptor. Perceptor is a character that I actually really wanted to see a War for Cybertron representation of, so I'm glad that he's kind of overflowing into the Studio Series. And of course the last version we got, I believe, was Power of the Prime, so quite a long time ago, and it will be really interesting to see as to how they've actually improved in regards to technology, as that old deluxe figure was actually pretty decent if my memory does serve me correctly. And then we go back to TF6 Bumblebee movie, and we are expecting to see a Bumblebee movie Wheeljack. So for Bumblebee movie, we're expecting to see Brawn, Ratchet and Wheeljack, and I'm thoroughly excited to see them all. As mentioned, none of their vehicle modes were ever really officially shown, so it will be really interesting to see as to what Hasbro come up with. I'm also hoping that the fact they are releasing these figures is maybe an indication that next year's 2022 live action movie may actually have some of these character designs carry over into that, as of course it does seem rather mysterious that they are deciding to release these Bumblebee movie inspired characters just as the supposed sequel to Bumblebee movie is about to hit the silver screen. So really intrigued to see all of these. Then we move into the Voyagers, and now the Voyagers have got to be one of the standouts here. We are expecting to see a TF6 Bumblebee movie Cybertronian Soundwave. Now this is a character that in all of my top 10 most anticipated figures or wish lists for Studio Series, Soundwave has always ended up there, and I'm so glad that finally towards the end of this year, early next year, we should actually have a figure of him. Now he is being priced under that Voyager class bracket, so I'm expecting a very beefy, very bulky figure, much like we've seen from some of these other 86 figures such as Scourge, etc. So really intrigued to see as to what he turns out to be. I'm sure that he will be absolutely awesome. And then we are also expecting to see yet again another 86 figure, this time in the form of Junkyard. Now of course he's one of the Junkions, and he is rumoured to be a Wreck-Gar retool, as the next wave of figures that we are expecting to see, I believe, is the Leader Slag, Leader Grindor, Wreck-Gar. I also believe the Sweeps, and then the deluxe assortment is kind of a mix. We've got ROTF Sideswipe, Jolt, and I also believe that the Sharkticons are going to be in that as well, and there is another figure as well, but at the time of this recording that does escape my memory. So yes, Wreck-Gar is up and coming, and then after Wreck-Gar we're going to get a direct retool, which will of course be Junkyard. And then the Leader class figure, it feels like ages since we actually got a proper Studio Series Leader class figure from the movieverse. This guy is not a live action character, this is part of the 86 line, and it is supposedly supposed to be a King Starscream cape. Now that obviously means Coronation Starscream from in the 86 movie, when Starscream defeats Megatron supposedly, and just before he's about to take the crown to be the leader of the Decepticons, Galvatron comes in and absolutely obliterates him into pure dust. Now the rumour has it that this figure is supposed to be a slight revamp revamp of Earthrise Starscream. Personally, considering we are paying leader price point, I'm hoping to see some new retooled elements. I'd love for them to finally give him wrist rotation as well as waist rotation. That is a must, especially for a leader price point. And of course, considering we're getting the additional accessories such as the crown, the shoulder pads, and the cape, that does bump it up to the leader price point. But definitely a very, very strong looking wave, and a wave that I'm actually really looking forward to. There isn't all that many retools in this. For the most part, they all do appear to be new sculpts, but as mentioned, they are still very heavily influenced on G1. So I'd love to know down in the comment section below on whether or not you would maybe like to see some more Bayformers introduced instead of the characters from the Nightverse, and then of course the 86 movie. I personally don't have an issue with this at all. As mentioned, I'm really excited to see as to what they make for alternate modes in regards to some of these Bumblebee movie characters. Brawn is definitely one that I'm most intrigued to see. Ratchet sounds incredibly exciting, as so does Wheeljack, and I really do think that these characters are being put at the start of 2022 in order to prepare us for that Bumblebee live action movie sequel also airing in summer of 2022. So I'm hoping that this is an indication that those characters shall also make an appearance in that movie, hence why they've decided to basically prolong their releases, as they could have released this last year or 2 years ago, but they've decided to wait until the beginning of 2022. So it does make me wonder as to whether or not that was deliberate. And then of course the TF6 Soundwave, he's obviously going to appear in the upcoming live action movie, so he was probably a great choice for them to throw in here. And all of these characters, if they do appear in the next sequel, Hasbro can basically take these molds, retool them, and give them what I imagine will be Earth modes. So it's a win-win for Hasbro. It makes sense. Obviously, you know, they won't release the Earth mode version until they've released the Cybertronian version. So once again, I definitely think that these characters are all going to be making an appearance in that live action movie. Of course, I'm merely speculating, but I do definitely think that is a possibility. And then Junkyard, the retool of Wreck-Gar. We don't actually know what Wreck-Gar looks like yet, but I'm pretty sure it will be a really nice looking Voyager. And then the King Starscream, whilst isn't my preferred for a leader class figure, I'm still glad that we are getting it, as of course it is an 86 movie character, and that was Starscream's demise before he comes back in season 3 and is of course a ghost. So overall, this definitely does look really promising. As mentioned, I expect to see these released towards the end of this year, early 2022, with official images / leaks circulating around October or November time. But definitely really exciting, and it is of course great to finally be getting some Studio Series news after a very bleak 2020 so far. I would love to know down in the comment section below on what you guys think. Are you happy that we are getting a very heavy G1 influenced Studio Series line with those Bumblebee movie characters and of course some of the 86 characters, or would you like to see some of those other Bayformers such as the Fallen and a few other Age of Extinction / the Last Night characters? I really hope that you enjoyed this video, and until my next video, I'll see you then. Thanks for watching.